switch gears today. We're going to talk a little bit about the printing industry, and we're also going to talk about how what we're doing here with our project relates to the printing industry, okay? Then we're going to talk about safety, how to use these cutters, and how you guys can create the different textures, the 4 different textures that were required for your assignment, how you guys can use these to create that, okay? All right, so you guys will see here I have a California Pizza Kitchen box. I have some napkins, Starbucks napkin, Chipotle, Kabuki. All right, we also have these. You guys want to take those? We have some bags here, California Pizza Kitchen, Sunflower. Why do you think I have these up here?
Because you've been there.
They're examples of the way that they would have used like printmaking.
Yeah, they're advertising, right? But they're also examples of how relief printing, okay, is going to be used in the industry. Okay, so what we're doing here today, or for this project, is we're actually creating a linoleum block print, which again is a form of relief printing. Okay, why do you think it's called relief printing? Remember we talked about that the other day? Okay, it has a raised surface, right? Just like a rubber stamp does. So if we use a rubber stamp, okay, just like this. And by the way, the rubber stamp is actually one of the most common forms of relief printing. We see that everything that's raised on here actually prints. Okay, same thing with your linoleum. Everything that's raised, we're going to take, this is a brayer. Forward. This is a brayer, and everything that we roll over this ink, okay, and then we roll it on top of our linoleum, everything that's raised is going to print out, just as you see right here. I made a copy for you guys. And one thing you'll notice too is that in a relief print is actually a reversed image, okay? So what do you think that the artist would have to do here, like with this Chipotle napkin? Yeah, they'd have to actually design it backwards, right? Okay, good. So, how these things relate is they're actually done with a very similar process to what we're doing. They are printed with a rubber stamp. It's called a plate, okay? And technically, this is called a plate as well. A plate is what receives the ink and then goes onto the paper, or in this case, this is also paper, right? Napkin is also paper. Okay. How the printing industry is very important because not like painting where you do just one single thing, you can do numerous ones, right? Numerous prints. You can do numerous pizza boxes. You can do numerous napkins. In fact, I used to work being a plate maker for Wisconsin Tissue, which made United Airlines napkins, Holiday Inn napkins, Black Angus, a lot of different companies that you guys are probably familiar with, okay? They use a rubber plate, and that's one of the careers that you guys could do. You can not only be the designer or the artist, but you could also be a plate maker. And instead of carving like we do here, it's done through a computer, okay? The artwork's done on a computer, and then we actually use a machine to kind of chemically remove anything that we don't want to gather ink, okay? Then those plates are put on a press. Now a press is another job that you guys can do using printmaking. Be a press operator, and you put these plates that are rubber though on top of a press, and then you run all these napkins through here, all the bags through there, all the boxes, all that stuff to create what you see here. Okay, it's actually a quite complicated process, but we're learning the simplest form here with relief printing, and a lot of printmakers or graphic designers have also done these types of projects to really fully understand how printing is set up and used in the industry, and how you must think about reverse imagery, you must think about design, okay? What are some of the goals that we've been talking about with this assignment? What's the
Texture.
Okay, texture, okay, good. Do you guys see texture in the pizza box?
On the leaves.
Yeah, it has leaves, right? See here? All the textures here. What else do you see in this pizza box that you guys also had to do?
It's like behind it.
Good, it's behind, it's overlapping. Excellent, good job. So the designer of this box, which is a graphic designer, actually thought about the layout here before they even designed it to go onto the plate and onto a printing process, okay? Good. All right, so we're gonna talk about that again. You guys mentioned textures, also space. We're going to focus mostly today on texture and how to achieve that through the different cutters that we're using here, okay? So I'm going to sit down and we're going to talk about how you guys are going to create the floor textures in your project. Now some of you may not be done with your drawings 100% yet. I think tonight you'll go home and have a better understanding about how this process relates so that you'll have a chance to fine tune your work a little bit, okay? So the first thing that we need to do, remember that we want to have a raised image, okay? We also want to have areas that are cut out. So the raised image is going to grab the ink. So we can do texture on top of this surface, or we can do, you know, kind of textures within more of the carved in areas, okay? Let's talk about the supplies needed. First of all, on your desk, you guys probably noticed you had a cutting board, or a safety board, let's call it that. The safety board is designed so that you guys don't cut yourself, okay? They actually fit, you see here, it's almost like an L shape. It fits on the side of the table like that, okay? You'll also see that up here there's another L shape, and that's where your linoleum piece is gonna fit. Now I have a bigger piece here just for the sake that I'm demoing, but you guys have a little smaller piece we're gonna practice on today, okay? But what it does is we don't wanna have this back further, okay? We actually wanna put this flush up to the top here. Okay, why do you think I would want that up here?
So it doesn't move when you carve it.
Yeah, so it doesn't move when we carve it. I have kind of a habit, and I'm sure most of you guys do, when you write, do you ever angle your paper? You do that? That's a huge habit that a lot of us have. We do not want to have that. We do not want to do that for this. Why do you think we don't want to angle the linoleum like that?
So that it doesn't, like, if you had it angled and you're going that way, it might twist.
Yeah, actually this could easily fold and break, and it also could slide too. So we obviously are using quite sharp cutters here, and we don't want to hurt ourselves. So we want to avoid that. It might be a little uncomfortable at first, but we want to kind of move this around a little bit or shift our body or change the direction of the plate depending on what you guys are going to be carving out, okay? And I'll show you that in just a couple minutes again more closely. All right, so now you have, you're each going to get a cutter handle today. The back of this handle comes off, and inside of that handle, you're going to have 4 different blades, okay? They're all designed, I actually have them right here, but there's 4 different ones inside of there. One of the things you guys are going to notice is that there's actually a U-shaped one that's dull. That's the part that's going to sit down into the metal pieces, okay? And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But each of these 4 blades is going to help you create a different texture, okay? Let's talk about how we're going to change these first, and then I'll show you how to use them, okay? First of all, I don't really want you to do this, but I'm going to take this off just so that you guys can understand how the inside of this looks and how you change a blade. If this accidentally comes undone when you guys are working, don't worry about it, just make sure that the pieces are there when you put it back. And if you need help, I can help you. There's 2 little pieces here. One's kind of a metal chip. Do you guys see how small that is? These get lost a lot on the floor, so you want to be really careful. And then there's another piece with almost like a little silver ball on the end. So what you guys are going to do is put these together, okay? And you want to fit that duller U part of the blade in between the metal chip and the ball. Now you're not going to put it together like this, I'm just showing you to see what happens on the inside of the cutter. So it's kind of going to look like that. Do you guys see that? Okay, so, but basically this goes into this top metal part. So how you would change the blade is you would actually loosen this, unscrew that a little bit, put that metal chip, put this in between the metal chip and the ball, and then tighten that back up. Make sure that's on there pretty tight because you don't want it to come undone. The other thing too is we want to make sure that this part of the blade is sitting down low. If it's up kind of high, it could snap off, and then it could, you know, either slip or you could break or something like that. Okay. Can you go to the nurse? Okay. All right. So what we need to do here is think about the different types. Okay, so look at your handout. Okay, we're gonna create 4 different types of texture. What I did was I created a block that actually shows each of what these look like and then how they would actually look once they're printed out. And this is gonna be important for you guys to think about what blades you're gonna use for what parts of your picture. Okay, just like that. And I'll demonstrate them in just a second. So let's take a look, the small V. The small V looks like this, okay? It's the tiniest one out of all of the cutters. And this is really something that you want to use very minimally. It's used for just surface scratching and very small textures. So you can see here, this is what it looks like on my plate right here. And remember, it's a reversed image, so it's the one that's right here. You can see it doesn't go very deep at all, okay? It also doesn't create a very wide line. So if you're wanting something more defined, you'd want to use a different cutter than this one. But this is good for like hair, grassy textures, things like that, okay? And I'll kind of show you. It doesn't really go any deeper than this. Notice when I am cutting, I'm keeping my hand back here. The plate is flush with the board here, and I'm cutting away from myself, okay? And we'll review that in just a couple minutes too. These are good for maybe fine wood textures, hair textures, grass, things like that, okay? The other thing too that people make the mistake of using this one is they actually try to carve really deep with it, and when you do that, it will actually lift up the surface of your linoleum, and you'll lose your picture. So we want to avoid carving deep. It's just very surface scratches with the small V. The better one to use if you want to go deeper would be the larger V. Looks just like this. Okay, if you look at them, you can tell why I call them square the V. Okay. This one goes much deeper. Okay, again, I'm carving away from myself, remember. Okay, and it looks like this. So you can really see the difference between the two, especially on the printing right here. You can really see the difference between the two. Now this one's good for if you have textures that are up close, they're really carved in. Maybe you have wood textures that you want to do something like this with, like more of a angled or jagged looking thing. And that's really good for doing those types of textures. Even hair, grass, things like that. Very similar, but maybe things that are closer up in your picture plane. Okay. The next one is the U. Actually, let's do the square. The square and the U are used for really deep textures. That's what I use to create, to take out all of this. It takes a long time to cut out something of this magnitude. So what you want to do is make sure that you're using either a U or a small V or a square. The square is designed to go pretty deep, so you have to almost like carve it in and push it in. It has a larger surface area here that's going to be carving away, so you have to use a little bit more arm muscle. And you also want to make sure that you're resting this part in the palm of your hand, like just like this, because if you're not doing that, your arm is going to get sore, and you have a sturdier grip this way. Okay, that's going to be used for more defined surfaces. Okay, you can also take the side of it like this and kind of do like this chipping technique. This would be really good if you guys had like a rocky texture, or maybe like a road, or even, I don't know, just different things. Sweaters, you can scrape off the surface with that. Kind of looks like this a little bit. You see that when you guys get that taken? Okay, you can do different techniques with the side of it. It's kind of versatile. I forgot to mention that the large V is really good for creating a texture like this, like an orange peel, divots, or any kind of golf ball looking texture, raindrops, things like that. Okay, so the large U, you can see how much different that looks compared to even the square cutter. It cuts out much larger surface area. It's not really as good for doing a texture, but it's really good for carving out large areas. Did you have a question? Okay, yeah, you should probably go over there or go to the nurse or something. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay, so let's do a real quick review on the safety, and then I'm going to have somebody test it out. Again, you always want to use a safety board. You don't want to ever have it sideways. You also want to have your linoleum flush to the side. Okay, where do you carve? Away from you, towards you?
Away from me.
Away from you. It's like when you strike a match, you want to go away from you, right? Okay, you also want to turn your plate as needed. Let's say this morning I saw a lot of people trying to get like this little part right here. That's at the bottom. Turn it around. Make it easy on yourself. Hold your hand back here. Turn the plate around. You know, there's no reason why we can't do that. If you have like strange shapes and textures, move your body a little bit in order to get them angles. Okay, it's much easier that way. Okay. All right. The other thing too is it's very common that people do have cuts and scrapes and things like that. If that happens to you, I'm not going to get mad, don't worry, but we want to make sure that we're always safe. You need to report all cuts and scrapes. One, we need to throw away the blade, and two, we need to make sure that your cut is sterilized, okay? Because a lot of people are using these throughout the day. There's germs, you know, it's metal, you could get sick, okay? So we want to be sure that we're doing that. At the end of class, where do you put the blades?
The bottom of it.
In the handle, right? We want to take the handle off and put them back in there, okay? All right, so does somebody want to try out here? Carter, would you like to try? You want to try? Sure. Okay. All right, so demonstrate for us. Show me, are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm left-handed.
Okay, so you're going to use the cutter in your left hand, okay? I'm going to hold it back. There you go, hold that hand back. Excellent. You have to use a little bit of arm muscle. What one are you using? Is that the square? Okay. Oh, no, that's the V. Okay. No, you can use the square, or the V, sorry. Go a little, yep, straight up and down. It's a little easier that way. There you go. The reason why I have you guys practicing today is because I want you guys to master this before you go onto your print. It's very easy to carve out something that you don't want to be carved out. Good, okay. So what's your reaction to that?
It's harder than it looks.
Yeah, so the V, what is this good for doing?
Grass.
Okay? The big V, sorry.
Larger, deeper.
Yep, good, okay. So what about the small V?
Details like grass and hair.
Yeah, and this is surface scratching, remember? Okay. Anybody else want to try?
I want to.
Okay, come on up. Okay, let's try a different one. How about you try the square? The square is kind of the hardest one, I think, to use. You have to dig a little deeper with the square. There you go. Put a little arm muscle into it. Excellent. You're doing You're doing good. Okay. You notice, you guys, how that slipped like that? It could be because the blade is getting a little dull. So if the blade feels dull to you guys, please let me know because we might need to change it. A dull blade is usually when you get some injuries. So just be aware, sharper